So, about 10 minutes. So, this is all part of my keypad ministry. I think that these things are just massively effective and incredibly underutilized in civic engagement work. I do not understand how come you don't use them all the time. They're really easy to use. They're increasingly affordable. I think they changed the whole game of civic engagement and about group meetings. I mean, I think they address a problem that people have had since people have been meeting, which is discerning group will. That problem has been happening for thousands of years. I think it's a technology a significance not unlike that of the microphone. But they can be also misused too. Again, you know, everybody gets to speak, and anonymity that breeds candor. It's easy to discern strongly stated minority views from consensus opinion, and the group's attention is on the group's diversity, right? Your job as facilitators is to keep in mind group diversity, but people in general don't do that, right? But this pushes group's attention to the group diversity, and you can also know who isn't here. That's very important too. Okay. They have a particular thing for racial dialogue, but it's not important. You can use them to introduce facts, build a learning environment, build group connectedness, get diverse experience on the table, solicit perspectives, including something hard to say, spark dialogue, summarize it, get ready for decisions, or even to create laughter. Okay, very easy to use, as I already said. Okay, 4 types of questions. Fact questions, what do you know? Demographic questions, what demographic group are you in? Experience questions, what experiences have you had? And the opinion perspective question. Okay. A little about demographic questions. You want to know who's here and who is not here. I think people inherently are always asking the question when it comes to a group, who are these other people in the room? Sometimes there are questions about visible diversity. They're particularly useful in large meetings. You can see where you are in terms of these visible diversity issues because it's hard to see past more than a few people. And sometimes it's useful to know about invisible diversity, like where you're from, your income, etc. How long have you lived in Austin? 5 years or less? This is a question for you. 5 to 15 years, press 2. More than 15 years, press 3. Okay. Right on?
Excuse me, oh, we do just, there's like a go key or something here to log in?
Just hit the letter.
Don't just hit the letter, I should have said that. Okay. So just press the number, don't press go. Okay. Okay, so you can see that 60% of us have lived here for 5 years or less, and another 20 and 20. So we can see we have diversity in here, but it's skewed towards newbies. Which of these groups you identify yourself? White person or person of color? Press 1 for white person, 2 for person of color.
What do you see on your monitor, David? Do you see the growing number of that?
No, I don't know. I'm just looking at what you're looking at.
What happens if I punch it 14 times?
It enters the... you can make a mistake, but it enters the last one. Sometimes I say, you can vote as often as you want, but unlike Chicago, only your last vote counts. Okay, so you see our distribution along those lines. How would you describe how your political ideology falls on the left-right spectrum? Far left, like Che or Mao, press 1. Left, like Bernie Sanders, percentage, press 2. Left of center, like Obama, press 3. Center, like Arnold Specter, press 4. Right of center, like Joe Lieberman, press 5. Oh, that should be right. It's not Ronald Reagan. Right, like Ronald Reagan, press 6. Far right, like Stalin. That's like Stalin. Che or Mao. This is an edit problem. Far right, like Joseph Stalin, press 7. Something else altogether different, like Ron Paul, press 8. Looks like we skew to the left. So what I imagine you think about, remember those horrible meetings about healthcare in 2009? Imagine if those meetings, if the public official who held those meetings had started out with this.
Yeah.
let's say who's here, who's not here. What you would have seen is those meetings are skewed
To the right.
to the right. And you could have this, and then you could have, like, you could put up, okay, how does that compare to who's in my district? So imagine how that might change the energy in a room. Because all those people who came there are thinking that you speak for me. No, I don't. I speak for you and everybody else. And here's who's here. I want to deal with y'all right now, but let's remember who I'm serving, which is the entire district.
But that just means that people are answering it correctly, or honestly.
Well, why would, okay.
Well, I'm just saying, if you have, far right people and, wanting to influence a room, and you want to show that they are there and that they are disproportionately represented, then if they know the point of this exercise, they'll just say, well, I'll just pretend that I'm center, or I'll just, and you know what I'm saying?
They could do that. That is possible. I think that most people wouldn't do that. I think most people, if you put a thing in front of them and you say, where are you on the spectrum, they're going to answer that question honestly. You can game any system, but I think most people would be honest about that. Now, it could be that in the fourth meeting when people realize that that could happen, but it's still important. It was still important to as a convener to use that information well. To not be okay. I did a little bit of attitude just now. Let's do it differently. Oh wow! This is a public meeting. We're seeing that we're more on the right side. Well, this is great. I'm really happy to be in a room to hear from this important part of my constituency because I represent everybody. So I think it's really great that we're hearing from people who tend to be Republicans, and I'm a Democrat. This is great. I don't normally get to do this. Now, that's very different than y'all ain't nothing because you're only half of the community, but it is saying we're all remembering who's here. So later on in the meeting, when I say, when the vituperation goes up, and you don't represent me, I can easily and I can non-offensively say, well, this is really, really valuable. I need to have some more meetings where we get a diversity of people here, because I'm hearing from this part of my constituency, and you guys represent that, I get you. But of course, as I showed you, there's different types of people in this community. So I'm just saying, I'm not saying we couldn't game the system and that solves everything, but I am saying that I think that this kind of insight about who's here and who isn't here, it takes the steam out of some people's self-righteousness about what my politicians should do. Okay, fact questions. Can be useful for getting people to more fully engage facts that you consider critical, and it's also useful to creating a learning environment, because people often know less than they think they do. Detroit is the most racially segregated major city in the country. That should be a statement. Which is the closest percentage of the population within the city limits that's black? You think it's 55%, 65%, 75%, 85%, or 93%? The correct answer in black is 85%. Yeah, it's that racially divided. Okay, what's the closest to the portion of the U.S. population that is non-white right now? What's the closest? 15%, 25%, 35%, 45%, or 55%? No, y'all don't get this right. Y'all, UTRs, y'all very smart over here. Y'all made the same mistake everybody made, which is overestimating the portion of the population that is non-white. Right now, not what it is 20 years from now, right now, this nation is 33% non-white. So we can think about what is the implication, and this is the mistake that groups make all the time, right? So we can think about what is the implication of that. What is the implication of that for people's view of public policy if people think that the country is more colored than it actually is. And how does that affect how people view affirmative action, any kind of distribution process, etc.? If people think it is more colored than it is, how does that affect that? Like when I was with the White House, I tried to promote this question being asked at every race dialogue, just as an educated thing, because this is the mistake people make all the time. This is the pattern. Okay, experience questions. You can search reveal the background to centers and facilitators, and it highlights the diversity experience in a room to the participants. How many moderate to large public forums, 50 or more people in Austin, have you attended? 5 or fewer, press 1, 6 to 20, press 2, more than 20, press 3. You were in the room, whether you ran it or a citizen or what have you. Great. Okay, so half of us have been to only a few, but and a fair amount of us have been to more than 20. Okay, so city engagement always very nice. Opinion questions.
Okay, can I ask a quick question real quick about the race question? Because I'm wondering though if that overall race question is influenced by also specifically where we live. So like if you live, so I wonder if it should be a two-part question. Where you live, what do you think is the proportion of the non-whites? And
Well,
then
you could ask the
national.
question, but I mean, you could.
I'm saying I think that would help people separate between what they see just generally around them versus what it is throughout the United States. Because when I lived in San Antonio, it was clearly, more minorities than white. It's more 65, 70%. So if you were asking that question when I was in San Antonio, that's what would be coloring my answer to that question.
There's no question that what you see reflects the question, but y'all read the question.
Yeah.
You knew I was asking about the nation, so I got you. But you read the question.
What is also really interesting is that sometimes facts don't matter. Perception is reality.
Yeah.
We believe we're living in a more colored society. We are acting different than even if we know the facts.
Right. We're almost done now.
Have you ever noticed a difference in the general answer to that question, whether it's audience that's mostly white or an audience that's mostly of color? Have you just...
I think white folks do a little bit more, but everybody overestimates it. All right. Generally, what is the quality of public conversations that occur in low-income minority communities in the Austin area? In your personal opinion. Very good, good, okay, fair, poor, or you have no idea?
You and I answered the same when bending you.
What's that?
Talia and I think will have answered that question the same way.
Okay, well, they get the votes in now. Okay, so we don't think it's that good. 38% think it's poor, and 30% think it's fair. Interesting though. Some of us say it's fair. So somebody in here says it's very good, very good. And somebody thinks it's okay. All right. So we're not that up on that. Got you. How do UT alums do a civic engagement in public conversation versus non-UT alums? In terms of when these folks are the conveners, as far as what you know. Now we're asking the question to reflect upon us as an alumni group who does civic engagement versus other people. What do you think? We're much better than others? Some are better than others? About the same as others? Others are somewhat better than us? Others much better than us? Or you have no idea? So we're really asking your assessment of how we're doing as a community on this issue versus other people who are doing this kind of work. Okay, that's reasonable. That's reasonable. Last point. Cross-tabulations can help facilitators and the group see how some demographics or experiences relate to different perspectives. And that's help us see how the context of opinions gets formed. So what do we see here? So this was the person of color question, the ethnicity question, versus the quality of the conversations. Do we notice any differences? It seems like there's no major differences, right? 100% of the people of color are unfair to poor, and 27. So the white folks are a little more positive, right? A little bit more positive. Well, hopefully you have no idea.
Same thing.
But we can see, so there's not a strong impact. We can see a little bit of the impact, right? Same question versus how many meetings you've been to, right? So, tell me I'm a little colorblind, which is why I should use a different format for this. But, so it looks like let's see, if we look at the red and the blue, it seems like the more meetings you've gone to, the more likely you think the meetings are good. Right? Am I saying that correctly? Well, the blue one is more than 20 meetings, right? So that's 50% of those people, 25% of those people, 25% are in the fair to good. Whereas if you've gone to fewer meetings, you're most likely you have no idea, or I mean, this is not a big skew. The point here is that you can. The final is important. I'm trying to show you the process, which is that by using these keypads and asking questions in a smart way, you can learn a lot of things about who's in the room, who's not in the room, what their opinions are, and how their opinions are affected by various experiences they have. That's the point I'm trying to get across to you. Well, I really appreciate y'all's time today. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, baby. How long would it take to do a survey of that nature for 30 people? How long, if someone were to do it, hand back, on paper? What would be the time equivalent to by other traditional means?
Well, then analyze it. And analyze it, right?
Oh, it's neat. It was good?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Self-understanding.